Hello, thanks for joining me today. I'm Jan Clothier of Thinking Stamping, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in New Zealand. Anyway, today I thought I'd share with you how I made this little card, which is for the latest colour challenge at Colour Inspiration, where I'm a crew member. And so the entire deal was inspired by the fact that we had to create something that used these four colours. So we had to use Petal Pink, Balmy Blue, Boho Blue, and Pecan Pie. And so, I don't know, sometimes colours speak to me. These ones kind of said go floral, and so I started with that, and this is where I ended up. So I thought I'd share with you how I made it. Now, I went to the Dainty Delight stamp set, although I've used it on the inside. Mostly what I've used are the Dainty Delight dies, and I've used a few other bits and pieces as well. So there's lots of different bits of pieces from my craft stash that have been used to go into this card, along with a new thing which I'll show you shortly. So if, as we're going today, and you see something that you'd like to add to your craft collection and you live in New Zealand, please feel free to shop with me. There's a link to my online store in the video description below, and through the contacts which will pop up in the end card. So Dainty Delight dies in particular are what we've used. For the sentiment, I actually used Timeless Arrangements. I used that little Love You, because I just thought this set's got lots and lots of clever little thank yous and appreciation sayings, and it's also quite small scale, which suited this sort of smaller format card. So that's where I went to for sentiment. Okay, what did we use in terms of paper, and how big is it? Well, as you can see, this is a little dinky card. It's not your full-sized card. So the card base, which is boho blue, I have cut. It is still 21 centimeters wide, the width of an A4 piece of paper, scored at 10.5. But in order to make it square, I've only cut it 10.5 tall. So 21 cut at 10.5. Now, I have then used a mat of DSP, and that DSP comes from the 2023 to 2025 in colour 6x6 stack, and I've picked this boho blue pattern. I suppose I could have gone that way, but this is my favourite pattern. I've used up nearly all of that pattern. Okay, so that's going to go there. Now, I've got the circular arrangement in the front, and that's where the something new comes in, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So you need a piece of boho blue for the outer circle and a piece of basic white for the inner circle. And you also need a little scrap of white to do the sentiment on, and a little piece of pecan pie to do the accent with. And you need a piece of watercolour paper, Fluid 100 watercolour paper, to make all of the little bits and pieces for the flowers in the centre. So that's all the bits of paper that you need. What did I do with them? Well, as I said, I stamped the sentiment. Here I used Love You from Timeless Arrangements, but I thought, oh, well, I've only got a limited number of people I want to send Love You to, but I've probably got more people I'd like to send thanks to. So I've taken that little thanks there, and I've stamped it in Pecan Pie, and then I have die cut it out using Stylish Shapes. I used that one there, the very smallest stitched banner from Stylish Shapes, and I also cut the same from the Pecan Pie, because they're going to layer together. Now, you could use any kind of circle to make those shapes, but what I've used is something new. I have used from the mini catalogue, the September to December mini catalogue, the deckled circles. Now, even though I looked in the catalogue and I saw what it said about dimensions, I was still quite surprised when they arrived. And firstly, there were so many of them, and secondly, they go up to such a big size, and I've got some exciting projects that I'm going to be using those for coming up in the next month or so. But what I've done is I had to take them out to work out which ones they were. So it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 6th size out I've cut white, and the 7th size out I've cut in boho blue to give me these pretty little decal-edged circles. So that's what those bits and pieces are for. Now, before we do anything else, what I want to do is get onto the watercolour paper, because that needs a little bit of time to dry. So get yourself, I always put down like a microfiber cloth or a piece of paper towel or something like that if I'm going to be doing wet stuff, just to help contain the mess. And I've got my water painters, and I have got some acrylic blocks to put my ink on. Now, because I want a particularly soft effect with this, I'm going to take my colour from the ink pads. If I wanted a stronger colour, I'd have used the re-inker, the little re-inker bottles, because to me that just gives you a stronger colour. So I'm going to put a bit of balmy blue onto a block and a bit of boho blue. I'm going to start with those. I know a lot of people just squeeze it and put it into there. I just don't like that. Somehow it just offends my sense of what's right. Okay, so when you're doing watercolouring, start with getting wet. Make your paper wet, because otherwise you're just putting ink onto paper and you're more likely to get a streak of colour that won't move. But if you've got water, when you drop the ink in, you get movement. The ink will move. So I'm just going to randomly put some of my blues onto the paper, and you can see it's kind of travelling on the water that I laid down. You can see I've got quite a lot of water there, which is going to do two things. It's going to give me a lot of movement, and it's going to give me a very soft result, because it's going to dilute the water a bit more. Now I want these two colours to mix and mingle, because I'm going to use those colours to do some die cutting with. Now, I don't want them to mix too much, because I don't want them to turn into some intermediate blue. I want there to be clear areas of different colour and places where they blend. Okay, so bit of mess going on there, but that's all right. It looks good when you die cut them out. Okay, so I'm going to do that, then I'm just going to clean off that, squeeze it till it runs clear, and then it's ready to use for the next thing. I'll just move that one out. Now I'm going to do a small area in Petal Pink, and again, if I wanted a stronger colour, I would have used the liquid re-inker straight from the bottle, but I'm after something subtle here, so squeeze, give myself some wet area. Now I'd also say, because I'm doing this for the video, I got out this lovely pristine brand new piece of watercolour paper. When I made my original card, I just used scraps. I had, I've got all the off-cut scraps of things that I've die cut out, and I had all these little pieces, and I just used up those. You don't have to use a lovely brand new piece. You can just use up your scraps and just do it that way. Okay, so we'll do that one. Again, give it a squeeze and a clean. And finally, the pecan pie. And I particularly want this to be, subtle, because it's quite a strong colour and the other colours are quite subtle, so I want some subtlety here, and that's what I'm hoping to get. So I'm actually to help that along, I'm squeezing out some water from the barrel of the water painter as well, because I want to tone down this quite strong brown, so it will work better with the pinks and the blues that are the other colours in the challenge. Okay, so I hope you're getting the idea that there's really not a right and a wrong here. You just want colour on the paper that you can put aside and let it dry, and then later on you can come back and die cut, and that you have water on the paper so that the ink will move rather than just stay blobbed in one place. Okay, now I'm just going to pop that aside and let it dry while we do some other things. Okay, so when we've got our nice dry piece, then we're going to do some die cutting. So from the Dainty Delight set, there's lots and lots of beautiful things there, but what I've done is I've taken some of these, some of these, some of these, and this. And as you can see, I've cut 3 of those. I've cut some stems. I've cut 3 of them. I've cut 4 of those. I've got room to cut some extras because when you're doing something like this, you're never quite sure how it's going to turn out and whether you're going to need more or whether you're going to use less or whatever. But here are my little die cut pieces that we're going to do something with as we get going. So I'm going to just put some of them together. I'm going to get my little mat, and I'm going to get my little bit of shmeary glue, and I'm going to take my pick tool, and we're going to start by just putting a little bit of glue there and a bit of a stem there. We'll just leave them off, that one off to dry. I'm only going to put stems on 2 of them, and time will tell whether that was a good idea. Now these ones, okay, so now I've got some little bits. I've got 3, 4 or 5 flowers on stems. I've got some extra little bits there, got some extra little bits to work with. Pop the dies aside so that I don't lose them. And let's move along. Okay, so this piece is going to attach to my front, so we might as well do that one straight away. Bit of glue around the edge, not too much because we don't want ooze. Glue's going to let us wiggle room it straight. Okay, now we can also add on our boho circle, because we don't have to have anything in behind it. So I'm going to pop it there and hope that I can get it pretty central. I'm looking for an even margin all the way around. Give it a press. Okay. Now we can pop that aside while we get this one. And what we're going to do to that one is we're going to get the petal pink, and we're going to get a blending brush. And we're just going to do a bit of colour, perhaps a bit of suggestion of a, I don't know, a dawn or a sunset or something, just a bit of a hint of some colour just around the bottom. And again, I'm not going the whole circle round, I'm just kind of doing, I don't know, from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, something like that. Right, that's just some colour. And now we can start doing a weeny bit of organising. So what are we going to do? 1, maybe 2, perhaps, I don't know. I feel like these are larkspurs, I don't really know. Maybe a couple of those, or one of those. I don't know. What I'm doing here is I'm just trying to get a bit of a feel for how I'm going to arrange stuff. Okay, I've kind of got an idea. As I say, it's a little bit of an evolving situation with a card like this. You just kind of play around and see what works and what doesn't and what you like and what you feel like on the day. The little glue and sponge trick is quite useful because you don't want a lot of glue oozing out over everything. So that's how I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter if it breaks the circle. Like it's all right to have things going out of the circle. We're going to have a little stock take while I think about where I'm going to put the sentiment. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to just do this, layer up this. So I'm just going to take that pecan pie label and I am just going to shave just a little bit off there, just so you've got a bit more to play with so it's not going to show when I layer it up. So you don't want to go too crazy, but just a little shave off the side there can make your life easier when you are layering it up. So bit of glue, and then we're just going to pop that there. And the only thing I'm really looking for is that I've got an even amount of the flag showing so that it's pretty even. That's what I'm aiming for. So that's going to go over there. Now, am I going to add in some of these other little bits and pieces? Well, I think I am. As I'm poking out these little pieces from this die cut, I'd also say that, you don't have to poke them out. Some people happily leave them in on purpose. Some people, leave a few in so that you've got more variation of shape. I like to poke most of them out, but I don't mind if a few stay in. Okay, so I think I will, at this point, do a little bit of a trim of the overhanging stems. Not these bits, I want those bits. Okay, so at this point I'm going to attach it to my card because the last bits are finishing off bits. There's going to be nothing to chop off. So I'm going to make sure my card's opening the right way. I'm going to line it up with my grid paper so I maximise my chance of having it how I want it, having it straight. And I'm just going to give it a press so that the glue has definitely got time to adhere. And also take this chance to remind you that if you see any products that I used in today's video that you want to add to your craft stash and you live in New Zealand, please shop with me. There is a link to my online store in the video description underneath. Now, I'm just going to add in, I'm pretty much going to follow my blueprint that I've got up here, which is I did put just the head of this agapanthusy flower down here, partly to just bring some colour down and partly to just hide what I thought were messy-ish stems. Again, going to give it a bit of a press because I'm pressing it over an uneven thing. Now, my sentiment's going to go maybe there. And I think that I will pop in this larkspur head. I don't know, I'll see what it looks like before I make my mind up on that. Oh yes, I think so. I think that's nice. Okay, so we'd better just give him a bit of a glue. Okay, bit of a glue and make it look like it's on that stem there. Give it a press. And to attach my sentiment, I am going to dimensional him, and because it's quite a narrow one, and I don't want the dimensionals to show, I'm going to use my minis. Whoops. And I am doing my thing, you know my thing. If you watch me regularly, you know that my thing is that I don't like sentiments and raised up pieces sagging, and so I'm always going to use probably more dimensionals than most people. But that's fine, that's just me. Oops. Okay, so let us see again. Am I straight? Yep. Okay, can I put that on straight? Yep, I think so. Give it a press. Now, the final thing we're going to do is add on some embellishments. And I'm going to add in some of these beautiful brushed brass butterflies, because I really like them for garden scenes. So we're going to add in some little fluttery butterflies. Where will we put them? Well, I think we'll have one big one, and he could go there, and a couple of little ones. Maybe one can just pop in that little gap there, and the third one could go, we could go there, or we could bring them further up again. I think we'll pop them up there. Okay. So there we have it. There we have our little Dainty Delights. Yes, our Dainty Delight mixed up with Timeless Arrangements square card. The only other thing I need to do is just show you what I did on the inside, and it was a fairly simple treatment because I didn't want to take up too much space, because you've got to have a bit of room to write. So I just took that little spray there, stamped it in Pecan Pie, and then I've coloured it in with blends using Balmy Blue and Petal Pink to fit in with the parameters of the colour challenge. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed making that card, and I hope that you will have a go at making something similar yourself. I'm always happy to answer questions, and you can reach me through my Jan Clothier Independent Stampin' Up Demonstrator Facebook page, my blog Thinking Stamping. All the details are in the video description below, and they're about to pop up in the media end card. I'm always happy to answer questions. If you've enjoyed what you've seen today and you haven't subscribed, please do, so you don't miss anything new that I do. Don't forget that you can shop with me if you live in New Zealand, and above all else, happy stamping.